because of injustices. We just want to do better. So Accra is alive today. And when we say welcome in the
honey sugar ginger my boo, sauti akiongea tu mashallah mguu akitembea mwendo billions dala kama kaji.
Incredibly honored to be with you here in Ghana and to the people of this incredible continent, to the people of Ghana, and to all the young leaders with us today, students, entrepreneurs, activists, advocates. It is my extraordinary honor to be with you. So I don't need to tell you, the median age on the African continent is 19. By 2050, 1 in 4 people in the entire world will be on this very continent. 1 in 4. That, of course, means what happens on this continent impacts the entire world. Seeing all of you here today makes me so optimistic and excited about this future. The energy, the dynamism, and the potential that each of you embody. And that is why I am here today. As President Joe Biden said at the U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit last December, we're all in on Africa. We are all in. Because African nations play such a critical role on issues of global importance, issues that matter to the American people and to the world. Issues like food security, the climate crisis, public health, and resilient supply chains. We are all in because African leadership is critical to global peace and security. African nations are essential partners at the United Nations and in support of international rules and norms. We are all in because the fates of the American people and of America and the continent of Africa are interconnected and interdependent. We are all in because there are long-standing ties between our people. We have an intertwined history, some of which is painful, and some of which is prideful, and all of which we must acknowledge, teach, and never forget. Because of this history, this continent, of course, has a special significance for me personally as the first Black Vice President of the United States of America. And this is a history, like many of us, that I learned as a young child. Stories, cultures, and traditions passed down from generations. In addition, this continent has a personal meaning for me because my grandfather and other members of my family worked in Zambia in the 1960s alongside a newly independent people. I was fortunate enough to visit them in Zambia as a young girl. The values that guided my relatives when they were there and the legacy of their efforts remain a source of pride for my entire family and continue to animate my work today. So then, what does it mean that the United States of America is all in? It means that the United States is committed to strengthen our partnerships across the continent of Africa. Partnerships with governments, the private sector, civil society, and all of you. Partnerships based on openness, inclusiveness, candor, shared interests, and mutual benefits. And to be clear, America will be guided not by what we can do for our African partners, but what we can do with our African partners. Together, we will address the challenges we face and the incredible opportunities ahead. And today, I will speak about one particular area of opportunity: investment in innovation. Innovation, I believe, to be the pursuit of what can be unburdened by what has been. Innovation results in one's ability not only to see, but to do things differently. New methods, new products, new approaches, new ideas. We innovate to be more effective and to solve problems. From the invention of new technology to the origin of social movements, innovation has come about by challenging the premise, questioning the status quo, and bold thinking. And so to the young leaders here today, you, by your very nature, are dreamers and innovators. And so to you I say, it is your spark, your creativity, and your determination that will drive the future. And with that then, African ideas and innovations will shape the future of the world. And so we must invest in the African ingenuity and creativity, which will unlock incredible economic growth and opportunities, not only for the people of the 54 countries that make up this diverse continent, but for the American people and people around the world. So the Biden-Harris administration and the American people stand ready to partner with you to help accelerate the innovation and entrepreneurship that is already underway. Let's look, for example, at what is happening across the continent in technology, science, agriculture, and clean energy, where innovation is solving local problems and global problems. Just think, before Venmo or Apple Pay, there was M-Pesa in Kenya, a mobile phone payment service that revolutionized the digital financial system. Right now, African nations are pioneering the delivery of healthcare supplies by drone. In Rwanda, this has reduced the delivery time for emergency blood supplies. In Ghana, this service has delivered more than 9 million vaccines, including those for COVID-19. This service has expanded to Kenya and Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire. And recently, to the United States in North Carolina, Arkansas, and Utah. In South Africa, part of the world's largest radio telescope is under construction, which will help answer some of the biggest questions of humanity about galaxies, about gravity. In Tanzania, plans are underway to build the first facility of its kind on the continent to process minerals that go into electric vehicle batteries. We see water-based farming in Kenya, battery energy storage systems in Malawi, and fintech startups in Nigeria. African ideas and innovations shaping the world, all of which fuel our optimism and hope. Yet, we must also be candid about the challenges. From security concerns in the Sahel, to droughts and floods exacerbated by the climate crisis, and barriers to economic growth, both on a macro and micro level. We must tackle these challenges and find ways to accelerate opportunity, growth, and stability. And I believe we must be intentional to make progress in 3 key areas: the empowerment of women, digital inclusion, and good governance and democracy, all of which are a focus of my visit to the continent and going forward, and all of which have the potential to create even more innovation. Innovation that will unlock new jobs, new industries, and exponential growth. So let us agree. Women around the world must be able to fully participate in economic, political, and social life. And they must be able to participate equally, including in leadership roles. It is a key to maximizing global growth and opportunity. However, we see gender disparities around the world, including in the United States. Disparities we must all address. On the continent of Africa, we know women grow a majority of the food, yet they are less likely to own the land they farm. They represent a majority of frontline healthcare workers, but face disparities in health outcomes. Women are entrepreneurs, yet have limited access to capital and markets. They are peacemakers and bridge builders, yet continue to be underrepresented at the tables where decisions are being made. And there are many factors that impact a woman's ability to survive and thrive. One of those is economic empowerment. And when we lift up the economic status of a woman, let's be clear, we lift up the economic status of her children, her family, her community, the entire economy benefits. So know that the United States of America will work alongside our partners each and every day to close gender gaps here and around the world. And ultimately, our belief is that the empowerment of women is rooted in the concept of freedom, not just freedom from violence or want, but freedom to create one's own future, a freedom we desire for all people. The second area where we must together make progress is in the digital economy. Whether you are a student relying on virtual courses, a farmer relying on an app for an early warning about extreme weather, or a small business owner looking to sell goods online, digital services are essential to 21st century economies. There are places on the continent of Africa that lead the world in digital solutions, yet other places on the continent that lag behind. Expanding access to the internet drives growth and creates opportunity for innovation. Once people are online, they have greater access then to education, greater access to information, and greater access to financial services, which is why the United States will double down on our effort to mobilize billions of dollars in public and private capital from the United States, the continent of Africa, and around the world in order to expand internet access for the benefit of all people here on the continent. To this end, the partnership between the public and private sectors is essential. Partnerships that combine the experience and expertise of the private sector with the reach and capacity that only governments can provide. Together, we can unleash growth and opportunity that far exceeds what either the public or private sector can achieve on its own. And the United States is committed to build these types of partnerships to increase digital inclusion on the continent. And finally, to create inclusive economic growth and to advance innovation, we must continue to support and invest in good governance and democracy. Good governance, well, it delivers predictability, stability, and rule of law, which is what businesses need to invest and what benefits all of society. And good governance is a key attribute of a good democracy. Recent polling tells us the vast majority of Africans support democracy over other forms of government, which reflects our shared desire for freedom and opportunity, transparency and accountability, for free and fair elections, the orderly transition of power, and the protection of fundamental human rights. Indeed, this is a priority for the American people, and it is a global priority. The United States will continue to work alongside democratic governments and in support of democratic aspirations of the people of this continent. In demonstration of this partnership this week, our administration is co-hosting in Zambia, the Summit for Democracy, an opportunity to learn from each other and strengthen democratic institutions. And I will say, while democracy is always a work in progress, including in my own country, the American people will always stand with those yearning for more freedom. And let us be clear that innovation thrives in a democracy. New ideas thrive where freedoms thrive. Free thinking leads to problems. And so I believe, acting together with intention, we can make progress in these three areas: the empowerment of women, digital inclusion, and good governance and democracy. And just let us take a moment to imagine the future. A future where women are not just included, but also lead. Imagine a future where every person is connected to the digital economy, a future where every young person trusts that their voices are heard, a future that is propelled by African innovation. So as we leave here today, let us consider then our shared future. Know the United States will remain a steadfast partner for progress. I am more optimistic than I have ever been about the future and the future of the continent of Africa, and by extension, the world. Not only because of the work we undertake in government, not only because of the investments in the private sector, I am optimistic about the future of the world because of you. The woman who will shatter every glass ceiling, the entrepreneur who will identify the next digital breakthrough, the activist who will fight for the dignity of every human being, students and scientists, athletes and artists, farmers and fishers, and the young innovators who will solve problems that we haven't yet identified with solutions we can't even yet imagine. So all of this to say, you, and in particular the young leaders here, you have a role to play. And together we have a role to play. So then, dream with ambition and lead with conviction. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing wherever you are, which will all be led out in sections. Let's make way for the Vice President of our Republic and the official party to take leave of us first. We shall all be led out in sections. Thank you.
From the Black Star Square, she's just finished a public lecture technology and innovation. She spoke about how crucial it is, Alan, for women to be inspired and not just given an opportunity to work, but to also be a part of the decision-making process. And she spoke about how making sure that a woman is taken care of becomes a basis for economic growth and recovery. And you could just hear the cheers from the crowd as the women totally agreed with some of the things she said in every area of women empowerment.
So when you realize she also quoted poetry directly that when you empower a woman, you don't only solve an individual's problem, but you take care of the entire nation, let me put it that way, to quote her out of context.
Agre said, if you educate a woman, you educate an individual. But if you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, you educate the entire society. So those were some of the echoing points, the rallying points of the Vice President's speech. Which ones stood out for you as well, Alan, as you listened to her lecture?
Well, these really hit me so hard, and I realized that they were just so on point as she mentioned them. But her concluding words, Thelma, she mentioned dream with ambition and lead with innovation. That for me is what we lack across Africa, and that must be a clarion call to every African. She talked about good governance. She also talked about democracy, innovation, investment, ideas, and her emphasis on African ideas leading in innovation around on point for us.
The idea that the majority, the larger majority, the vast majority of Africa wants democracy and not any other form of government was also strongly reiterated by the Vice President. And so the need for free and fair elections and the need for a peaceful transfer of power highlighted in the speech as well. So many countries in Africa going through instability, and so the call for everyone to embrace democracy and to embrace more peaceful means of transferring power and making their voice heard was also very, very highlighted in that speech. I was excited when she mentioned the fact that elections, you cannot just reduce democracy to elections, but other things need to be put on the plate as well.
Interesting what's happening around us. In fact, we can't help it, but these will happen. You're on a live television, and so that's it. But T, let's probe slightly further in some of the areas she mentioned. Innovation, and she singled out healthcare and how drone innovations across Africa are helping in delivering safe healthcare right across the continent. She mentioned the Ghana example and how that mirrors an example somewhere in the United States. She also talked about private-public partnership in championing.
We can just unpack them one at a time, Alan. So drone technology, very vital. Remember that the government of Ghana had involved with the zip line technology, which ensures that critical emergency medical supplies reach hard to reach areas of the country, and this has made it possible for vaccines to be delivered in a timely manner, and even in areas where snake venom, for example, is needed immediately. Drone technology has made it possible for those crucial medicines to reach those areas in a timely manner. Remember that at the peak of the COVID pandemic, the US sent us dozens and dozens and dozens of tons of COVID-19 vaccines. And drone technology helped us to ensure that this would be
delivered
possible
safely,
and it will get delivered to the people who need them the most. But the security situation was also quite topical in her speech.
Yes.
And I see Adib Sani over there. Adib, join us.
Will join us very shortly.
So we just want to pick your thoughts. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Sunny weather here. We are just trying to unpack some of what Her Excellency Kamala Harris said to us this afternoon. Security is a key concern.
Absolutely.
To what extent will the funds that she talked about America doubling down on efforts to improve stability in Africa and on the continent, to what extent will that help us address the glaring issues of the gaps in our system?
Well, I must say, without mincing words, that this is timely. I've always indicated that countering violent extremism, especially preventing it from coming from the Sahel into the littorals, is dependent on the level of partnership and collaboration Ghana has with other countries, even beyond Africa. The US has been a very important partner in ensuring security, not just in Ghana, but in the whole sub-Saharan Africa. So I must say the funds is critical, even though from my perspective, I think it's not enough, but it is a step towards many more we might see going forward. And of course, beyond America, it is expected that we would have more and more powers committing resources to dealing with the myriad of especially the human insecurities that is driving young people into joining these terrorist groups.
Thank you, Adi, for spending time. Alan, I'll pick the thoughts. So here's a friend of mine. He moved from the USA to come to Ghana, and he left a very lucrative job in the United States to come to Ghana and engage in, guess what?
Tell me.
Farming.
Awesome.
So introduce yourself to us, and then tell us why you made that move and why you're here today.
D. Duncan. Yes, and I live here in Ghana. I'm from America. I've been here for 2 years, and I see the opportunity for agriculture, and so I'm here.
So when the Vice President talks about these innovations and how we can use them to improve on the fundamentals of our economy, how are you embracing that where you are? Do you find that this is timely? Agriculture.
To incentivize these areas, I think it opens up a lot of chances. But you yourself, you have to be organized, and you yourself have to have execute that plan.
So time with round up this.